How's it going, Tony here? So I'm actually moving, and in the process of getting things ready to move, I was packing up my comics and things like that. So I thought I would do a comic book video. So today what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you guys one of my comic collecting interests, which is basically Western comics that are inspired in some way by or have something to do with Japan. So inspired by either the aesthetic of Japanese comics and animation, or the stories or characters have something to do with Japan. So these are not actual Japanese comics like Akira. They are Western comics, but as you'll see, they have something to do with Japan, or they derive some inspiration from Japanese comics. So, uh, actually, I am gonna break the rule with the first one, but there is a reason for it. So, this is Mai the Psychic Girl, and this is the second print of number one. Now, this is a Japanese manga, and this is simply a translation of it. But it's not just a translation. So when Japanese comics were starting to come out in Western countries, what they initially did was they usually tried to put them in a format that would be familiar to Western readers. So they put them in these little monthly floppy magazines. And actually, another thing they had to do was they had to flip the artwork around because actually, you may know this, but you might not know this. Um, Comics in Japan, well, actually, stepping back a little bit, Japanese in literature is generally read top to bottom, right to left. The text is oriented vertically, and you read it right to left. And so Japanese comics follow this format. So as you can actually see, these Akira books, they're Japanese. The binding is not over here, right? The binding is on the right side because they are read right to left. So anyway, what they did was they tried to, I guess, sort of make sure that readers weren't too weirded out. So they tried to put them in these familiar sort of American comic floppy magazine format. Now, I believe, at this point, they don't do this anymore. So this was decades ago, and they were kind of like, when it was newly introduced, they were kind of like, we don't know how people would respond to reading a book the other way, or things like that. I'm pretty sure at this point, although I do not read manga in English, sorry for the flex. I'm pretty sure at this point they don't do this anymore. So they keep the format very much like Japan. They just translate it into English. So manga, Japanese comics, official translated versions are read right to left, like their original Japanese volumes. So anyway, I want to read the intro in here because it's kind of interesting. They actually provide this intro, so check this out. What you now hold in your hands is the first wholesale attempt to bring the unique and novel world of Japanese comics to English readers in a popular and familiar format. Whether your interest is in comics as an art form, a manifestation of popular culture, or a form of entertainment, we are proud to offer you a new comic experience. The world of Japanese comics is extremely large and diverse. There are traditional superhero, action, historical, romance, and science fiction titles, as well as a new type of sophisticated comics written for the highly educated modern adult audience. Japanese comics are tremendously varied and read by people of all ages and from all walks of life. Manga have come to be recognized as a distinct literary and artistic form. As an international art form and as an expression of mass culture, we believe that comic books transcend national borders. In the spirit of mutual cultural exchange, we present some of the best and most interesting comic serials now published in Japan. So, and I'm just gonna put the back cover because the back cover is awesome. You could frame that. So anyway, like I said, sorry, this is an actual Japanese comic that was just translated, but I thought that was a cool little bit of information. So, and then in the same vein, sorry, breaking the rule again, I also have this X-Men manga. So this is an original Japanese X-Men manga license, but they just translated it and presumably did the same thing because this was long enough ago where they put it back into a or they put it into a familiar American comic book format. So the manga X-Men #1. Okay. So let's get into the ones that are actually, like I said, the theme of the video was going to be, which is to say American comics that are essentially inspired by Japanese comics. So first up, we've got this. This is called Dark Minds. This is from, I believe, the late 90s, from Image Comics. And this is a detective serial killer kind of CSI kind of deal. However, if you have any familiarity at all with Japanese comics and animation, you're probably already getting the sense that this title is heavily influenced by works like Akira or Ghost in the Shell. And it totally is. In fact, this title, it's a little bit comical. This thing is a pretty transparent and unashamed, in some cases, almost rip-off of Japanese sci-fi titles of a certain era. But it's still, actually, I do, it's cool. I actually remember reading this back in the day. And I would say, it's still worth checking out if you like, things like Akira or Ghost in the Shell. Like, the art is pretty good in it, and, as I said, heavily inspired, but yeah, it is what it is. They were just trying to capitalize on the popularity. It's still worth checking out, I'd say. So then I've got something called Samurai's Blood. So this is Samurai's Blood, also from Image Comics. And Samurai's Blood, it's, as you might expect, it's a samurai story. So again, this is not a Japanese manga. This is a wholly original American comic, but just, inspired by samurai in feudal Japan. It's that kind of story. I've also got the #2 with this cool wraparound cover. I'll probably take it out to show you the rest of the wraparound cover, but this is just sort of a virgin wraparound cover with no trade dress or anything on it. And you probably recognize this very famous wave in the back. Of course, that is from the famous Japanese, the ukiyo-e master Hokusai. But even if you don't know the name Hokusai, you definitely know that dang wave, which is everywhere. But actually, they flipped this one around. So anyway, like I said, this is a wraparound cover. And then there's like this guy who's very clearly a ripoff of Honda from Street Fighter, but that's fine. So yeah, Samurai's Blood, similar vein. I have this. This is called Ronin Island. Ronin Island from Boom Studios. Ronin Island, this is, I've only read this number one. Again, I actually, so a little bit of background here. I found this one in a comic shop, and I was drawn to it because of this symbol right here, which is an actual historical thing. So I'm not sure if this is part of the story explicitly or if it's just window dressing, but anyway, this is the symbol of the Tokugawa shogunate, basically the Tokugawa family, which was a feudal dynasty that ruled Japan for a couple hundred years, right up to what would be considered the start of its Japan's modern era. They were the Tokugawa shoguns who were, powerful feudal warlords who ruled Japan for a very long time. A united Japan for a very long time. They were overthrown by imperial forces loyal to the emperor um, in the mid-ish 19th century. So anyway, this book it's a story of so there's some sort of disaster, and then these survivors from Japan, China, and Korea, they sort of make a new civilization on an island somewhere. And there's, monsters or whatever. So Ronin Island, and then let's see here. Got a couple. So this one might be a bit of a stretch. This is Teen Titans Go #1. I actually picked this one up recently. In the early 2000s, there was a cartoon on Cartoon Network of the Teen Titans, and the reason I include this one is because the show, I would say aesthetically, visually, was definitely inspired in part by Japanese comics and anime. So it's just maybe a sort of an aesthetic inspiration, but I think the cartoon also had a Japanese theme song, if memory serves. So anyway, Teen Titans Go #1. Pretty recent pickup actually. The cartoon version of this when I was like in middle school or whatever, I enjoyed that back in the day. Then I've also got something called, this is called Amekomi Girls. I picked this one up. So this is something DC did, I guess, probably about 10 years ago. Yeah, April 2013. So about 10 years ago. And this is just DC characters, DC heroines, I guess, rendered in like more of like an anime style. So this is number 5 with Supergirl. And then I also have this other one, but I believe this was from, no, this is from the same run. This is the number 2. I think they did 2 separate runs of this. But this is the number 2 with Batgirl. And then I've also got this one, which as I said, the Japan connection, this is pretty funny. This is Superman, some run of Superman number 45. But the reason I picked this up is because it's kind of a Godzilla homage. King of superheroes, right? Godzilla's king of monsters. And actually, this tower in the back, this is Tokyo Skytree. This is a real tower in Tokyo. So I mainly got it because of that. And also, as you can see, this guy down here, this is also a partial homage to Action Comics #1, the first appearance of Superman, where the guy's like in disbelief running away when Superman's like throwing the car or whatever. So I know that's an homage to Action Comics. So yeah, I got this Superman, Godzilla type cover. So, all right, guys, I do have more of these, but I guess I will save them for another day because the video's getting kind of long. As always, thanks for watching. Peace.